भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवते उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिके. Text 9. The great king Gaya used to perform all kinds of Vedic rituals. He was highly intelligent and expert in studying all the Vedic literature. He maintained the religious principle and possessed all kinds of opulence. He was a leader among gentlemen and a servant of the devotees. He was a totally qualified plenary expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, who could equal him in the performance of gigantic ritualistic ceremonies? All the chaste and honest daughters of Maharaj Daksha, such as Shraddha, Maitri, and Daya, whose blessings were always effective, bathed Maharaj Gaya with sanctified water. Indeed, they were very satisfied with Maharaj Gaya. The planet Earth personified came as a cow, and as a doe, she saw her calf. She delivered milk profusely when she saw all the good qualities of Maharaj Gaya. In other words, Maharaj Gaya was able to derive all benefits from the earth and thus satisfy the desire of his citizens. However, he personally had no desire. Although King Gaya had no personal desire for sense gratification, all his desires were fulfilled by virtue of his performance of Vedic rituals. All the kings with whom Maharaj Gaya had to fight were forced to fight on religious principle. They were very satisfied with his fighting, and they would present all kinds of gifts to him. Similarly, all the Brahmanas in his kingdom were very satisfied with the King Gaya's munificent charities. Consequently, the Brahmanas contributed a sixth of their pious activities for King Gaya's benefit in the next life. In Maharaj Gaya's sacrifice, there was a great supply of the intoxicant known as soma. King Indra used to become and uh, King Indra used to come and become intoxicated by drinking large quantities of somarasa. Also, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, the Yajna Purusha, also came and personally accept all the sacrifice offered unto him with pure and firm devotion in the sacrificial arena. When the Supreme Lord is pleased by the person action, automatically all the demigods, human beings, animals, birds, bees, creepers, trees, grass, and all other living entities, beginning with Lord Brahma, are pleased. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the supersoul of everyone, and He is the nature fully pleased. Nonetheless, He came to the arena of Maharaj Gaya and said, I am fully pleased. In the womb of Gayanti, Maharaj Gaya begot three sons, named Chitraratha, Sugati, and Avardhana. In the womb of his wife Arna, Chitraratha begot a son named Samrat. The wife of Samrat was Utkala, and his womb Samrat begot a son named Marichi. In the womb of his wife Bindumati, Marichi begot a son named Bindu. In the womb of his wife Saragaha, Bindu begot a son named Madhu. In the womb of his wife named Sumana, Madhu begot a son named Viravrata. In the womb of his excuse me, in the womb of his wife Voja, Viravrata begot two sons named Mantu and Pramantu. In the womb of his wife Satya, Mantu begot a son named Bhavana. And in the womb of his wife Dusana, Bhavana begot a son named Dwasta. In the womb of his wife Virochana, Dwasta begot a son named Viraja. The wife of Viraja was Vishuchi, and in her womb Viraja begot 100 sons and one daughter. All of these sons and son named Satyajit was predominant. There is a famous verse about King Viraja. Because of his wide qualities of wide fame, King Viraja became the jewel of the dynasty of King Priyavrata, just as Lord Vishnu, by his transcendental potency, decorates and blesses the demigods. Thus, the end of the Bhaktivedanta purport of fifth canto, chapter 15 of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Glories of Descendant of King Priyavrata. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
so much, Hemangam Mataji. Hare Krishna Krishna Venu Prabhuji. Please accept our humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada and Bhakti. Please take over the call, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Radharani Mataji, for coordinating. And thank you, Hemangi Mataji, for reading today's Bhagavatam section versus translations. And thank you all for joining for today's Bhagavatam session. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 15, the glories of the descendants of King Priyavrata. So we'll go through slokas 9 to 16. So we'll start with prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamiti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschyatta Deshatani. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktarunda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Just to give a background, in the last couple of chapters, we heard the wonderful spiritual instructions of Jadavarta to Ravana. Of course, to Ravana, it is all coming to all of us. So he explained nicely how this material world or the family life has many challenges, how the man goes through, or everyone in this material world, the conditioned living entities goes through so many troubles and problems and challenges, either through the family members, relatives, or friends, or the other living entities like government officers, like that. So I explained very nicely, and also he stressed so the only way to come out from this problematic life, or the miserable life, which is Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi Dukkha Doshana Darshanam, is to surrender to the Supreme Lord by taking the association of the devotees. And now from this chapter, Sukadeva Goswami is giving narration about the glories of the descendants of the King Priyavrata. So in the last few slokas, Aradhya Mataji explained very nicely, like she mentioned about the various descendants of the Priyavrata, starting with Bharata Maharaj and his son Sumati, and then how the Sumati followed the path given by Lord Rishabhadev and made his life successful. And then in that dynasty, there are several wonderful, great personalities. And in that dynasty, we heard about King Gaya last couple of slokas, and that is continuing. And King Gaya in the last sloka is mentioned as the partial incarnation of Supreme Lord Vishnu. And because of his great devotion, he got the title as a Mahapurusha. So we could see that, how exalted the King Gaya in the dynasty of Priyavrata. So in the sloka 9, continuing the King Gaya's great qualities. So here in this sloka, we see that King Gaya is to perform all kinds of Vedic rituals. So yajnas, sacrifices. So this is one of the things that Krishna mentions, which one should not be given up. So yajna, dana, tapa. So these three should not be given up. Everyone should perform. Of course, the yajna could be different based on the yuga, but these three things should not be given up. And yajna should be done for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord Vishnu. When we do for the pleasure of the Lord Vishnu, then we will not will not create any bondage. So otherwise it will create a bondage. So Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita, Yagnardad karmano anyatra lokayam karma bandhana. So if we do it for the pleasure of Krishna, then we are not bound by any reactions. But if we do it for our own sense gratification, then it will create bondage in this material world, and we will continue through the miserable birth and death, that life cycle. Of course, here King Gaya performed all Vedic rituals, yajnas, that are appropriate for that yuga. But for Kali Yuga, the yajna that prescribed is to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Kalau tad Hari Kirtanat. So when we do this yajna, then all the demigods are placed. Not only Krishna is placed, the demigods are also placed. And when the demigods are placed, Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita, those demigods will shower the rains, like, they will send the rains, and due to the rains, the food grains will grow. So Yajnad Bhavanti Pajanyad. So due to that, all the living entities also survives. So devotees chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, so it not only pleases Krishna, it also pleases demigods. On top of that, it helps the other living entities to survive. So it's a great contribution to the society. And another point mentioned here is he maintained the religious principles and possessed all kinds of appliances. He was highly intelligent, expert in studying Vedic literature. He also maintained the religious principles and possessed all kinds of appliances. It's called Dharma Gopta. That particular word in the sloka is used, Dharma Gopta. Is the protector of the occupational duties of everyone. So this is also very important. He not only followed and performed the occupation duties perfectly, but he also, as a king, inspired his citizens to perform their Varna Ashrama duties. Like in the previous sessions, we have heard about King Prithu Maharaj. So King Prithu Maharaj also made sure that all his citizens are performing their duties according to their Varna Ashrama. So it's not keeping idle. He's not giving everything free, as we see in some of the governments. They give many things for free, and if most of them comes for free, then people might be sitting idle. So it's like an idle brain is a devil's den. So then we don't know what they will do it. So as the idle king, here King Gaya, like Prithu Maharaj, he protected the citizens, arranged employment, and also performed the yajna so that all the food grains came. So he guided them to perform the wonderful pious activities, and also inspired them to progress in the path of Bhakti Yoga. And another great quality is, so he was a servant of the devotees, Sat Sevakaha. So he's the servant of the devotees. So when Krishna sees that someone is serving the devotees, he will be very pleased. So in Prabhupada quotes from the Adi Purana that a statement Krishna tells to Arjuna that one who claims to be my devotee is not so, but a person who serves my devotee is actually my devotee. So, and Prabhupada mentions in that is no one can approach the Supreme Lord directly. So one must approach to his pure devotees. So therefore, it is very important to take a shelter of a pure devotee, or associate with them, or serve them. Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprasnaya sevaya. So when we render service to the pure devotees, then so Krishna is very pleased. And this is the reason, I think, in the Ramayana, so when the Vaishnava community, when they see Shatrughna and Lakshmana, they see Shatrughna exhibited higher dharma than Lakshmana, because Lakshmana served Lord Ramachandra, the Supreme Lord, directly. But Shatrughna served Lord Ramachandra's devotee, Bharat. So that's why Shatrughna exhibited higher dharma than Lakshmana. So, and even Mahaprabhu also mentions that in Chaitanya Charitamrita, we hear that he says that I am not a Brahmana or Kshatriya or Vaishya or Shudra or Brahmachari or Grahastha or Vanaprastha Sannyasi. Then what he is, he says that I am the servant of the servant of the servant of the Supreme Lord Krishna. Gopi Bharturpada Kamalayor Dasa Dasa Dasanudas, like that. So as I trying to be devotee, so one should develop this quality of serving other devotees. Of course, I'm talking to myself. So even when Krishna comes in this material world, he also uh, performs. He also likes to serve the devotees. He exhibits that quality of serving the devotees. He shows through his personal example how important it is serving the devotees. Like he became as a peace messenger to Pandavas. He became the chariot driver for Arjuna. He washed the lotus feet of great sages who attended the Rajasuya Yajna, like that. So by serving devotees, one can become purified and they can advance in the path of bhakti. Like how Narada Muni, in his previous life, when he was the maid servant of son of a maid servant, he served the Bhakti Vedantas, and then in the next life, he became a wonderful devotee. So even if we are not currently doing that, but if we have the desire to serve, then Krishna will arrange all the things so that we can get the opportunity to serve. Like, if we are not chanting Hare Krishna, but 16 rounds, if we have the desire to chant Hare Krishna, then Krishna will arrange in such a way that you will be able to chant the 16 rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, or you want to take a shelter of a guru, like that. So, and another thing is mentioned in this year is a Bhagavad Kalam, like, is a expansion of the plenary expansion of the Supreme Lord. So, of course, Krishna's incarnations are unlimited. So, it is mentioned that how the waves of a ocean comes one after one, one after one after one. Like we cannot count it because it's coming one after one. Similarly, Krishna's incarnations also comes one after one, like that. So here also King Gaya is mentioned as the plenary expansion of the Supreme Lord. And in the text 10, we see that here the chaste and honest daughters of Maharaj Daksha, Shraddha, Maitri, Daya. So they were very satisfied with Maharaj Gaya's wonderful qualities and his ruling. So they blessed him and also they bathed him in the sanctified water. Prabhupada mentions that so when we have the blessings of the great personalities, great devotees, then we can able to perform wonderful activities. So here also King Gaya got those blessings from the higher authorities. So he could rule the citizens more effectively. So that's Prabhupada mentions that. So this is one thing, by serving this or by serving the wonderful devotees or exhibiting the great qualities, we can also get the blessings of the exalted devotees. So not only that, even King Gaya, so he's also even the planet Earth. So she was also very satisfied when she saw the great qualities of Maharaj Gaya. So she came as a cow and delivered all the things that are required. Prabhupada mentions that the earth that King Gaya was ruling at that time is considered, is compared as a cow. And also the great qualities that Maharaj Gaya is showed is mentioned as a calf. So naturally when cow sees her calf, then she will deliver the milk profusely. So similarly here, the earth, when she observed the great qualities of Maharaj Gaya, she produced abundantly all the things like the grains or whatever the things that are required for all the seasons. So she abundantly gave it. So in that way, Maharaj Gaya was able to derive all benefits from the earth and thus satisfy the desires of the citizens. But he personally had no desire. So this is one thing, like, when the leaders are having great qualities and ruling very nicely, then obviously the earth would produce all the food grains that are required. So, so this earth has everything that is required for everyone. So whatever everyone is required, this earth can produce everything. But if we exhibit all good qualities. So in the text 11, we see that here King Gaya, so he had no personal desire for sense gratification, but because of his virtue, all his desires are fulfilled. And Maharaj Gaya satisfied everyone. So here we see that Maharaj Gaya had to fight, forced to fight on the religious principles. Sometimes Prabhupada mentions that sometimes to maintain the kingdom, it could be required to fight with the other kings or subordinate kings. But here we see that those kings who fought with Maharaj Gaya, and even though they were defeated, so they were very satisfied because they understood that Maharaj Gaya is fighting based on the religious principles or for the sake of the religious principles. So they were very satisfied with his fighting, and they voluntarily presenting so many gifts to him. So in that way, he also satisfied the Kshatriyas, and he satisfied Brahmanas in his kingdom by giving munificent charities. So because of that, Brahmanas contribute a sixth of their pious activities for King Gaya's benefit in the next life. And Prabhupada mentions that so King Gaya satisfied all the citizens. So Brahmanas by giving charities, and Kshatriyas with his fighting spirit, Vaishyas with kind words, and Shudras by providing all the foodstuffs they require or charity. So those kind of things. So he satisfied everyone. And we see that, because of his great ruling, the Brahmanas contribute sixth of their pious activities of King Gaya, so that he can benefit in the next life. So this is the advantage, when the leader performs ruling according to the Vedic scriptures under the suggestion of the devotees, then he would get the 1/6 of the pious activities of his citizens. But he simply collects the taxes, but he doesn't give any protection, or it doesn't satisfy them. Then not only he don't get any pious activities of the citizens, but he will lose, because he has to take the sinful reactions, a small portion of sinful reaction of his citizens, and he will lose his pious activities. Of course, that same principle applicable for the whoever managing, could be parents or gurus, like that. So if the parents cannot train their kids to engage in the pious activities or the spiritual activities, then parents has to take a small portion of the kids' sinful activities, and they lose their pious credit. But if they could progress nicely, or they could perform their varnashrama activities and nicely progress in the spiritual path, then the parents would get the little bit portion of their pious credit. So it's very important for us to strive in such a way that we can put the kids in a right direction. So in 12th sloka, we see that Maharaj Gaya, so he satisfied even the demigods, King Indra, so by supplying the large quantity of Somarasa. And even the Supreme Lord, the Ignapurusha, so he came personally and accepted all sacrifice offered into him, the pure and firm devotion in the sacrificial area. So when we offer with pure love and devotion, Krishna accepts it. Even if somebody doesn't have a great opulence, but if he offers a small leaf, water, and fruit, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Patram Palam Pushpam. So he will accept it. But if we offer it with a great love and devotion. So in that way, Maharaj Gaya got blessings from all of them. And here in 13th sloka, you see that the Supreme Lord is pleased. When the Supreme Lord is pleased by a person's actions, automatically all the demigods, human beings, animals, birds, beasts, creepers, see all the living entities, beginning with Lord Brahma, everyone is pleased. Because the Supreme Personality of God is the super soul of everyone. and he is by nature fully pleased. Krishna is always pleased, but still he came to the arena of Maharaj Gaya and he mentioned that I am fully pleased. And Prabhupada mentions in the purport here that explicitly here he mentioned that simply by satisfying the Supreme Lord, one would satisfy everyone, all other living entities. And Prabhupada quotes the Bhagavatam sloka that is mentioned in the earlier canto, like Yata taror mula nichena pratyantita skanda bhujopashakaha pranapadaracha yatendriyanam tataiva sarvaharanam achyutejya. Like, so here two examples are given in this sloka, like, when we pour water to the root of the tree, so it automatically nourishes the trunks, branches, twigs, and everything else. So we don't need to put a drop of water to trunks, branches, leaves, like that. Of course, it is very difficult. So, but if we pour the water to the root, then everything will be nourished. So, and another example is given, like, when we supply the food to the stomach, then all the senses and limbs of the body, so they all will be nourished. So they will get energized. So similarly here, we see that so when one pleases the Supreme Lord, all the living entities like demigods or the animals, birds, everything are pleased. So in fact, it is mentioned that as soon as we born in this material world, we came into this material world, we are indebted to many living entities. So it is mentioned in Bhagavatam, Devarshi Bhutaptanunam Pitranam Nakinkaro Nayam Ranicha Rajan Sarvatmanaya Sharanam Charanyam Gato Mukundam Parihritya Kartam. Like, as soon as we appear in this material world, we are forced to come into this material world, then we are indebted to devas, demigods, rishis, bhutapta, like other living entities. So many, to so many peoples we are indebted. To get rid of that debt, so if we take shelter of Krishna and we please him, Gato Mukundam Parityam Kartam. So then everyone is pleased and we are freed from that debt. So because the demigods are supplying the water, air, light, and other living entities are giving pleasure, and the rishis are giving the Vedic literatures, this knowledge. So we are indebted. So how can we free from that in debt or the debt? So that if we simply please Krishna, then we are freed from that debt. So we can please Krishna simply by following the instructions given by acharyas. Like Srila Prabhupada gave this wonderful process of chanting of Hare Krishna Maha Mantra 16 rounds and following four executive principles. So in that way, we please Srila Prabhupada and devotees, and that way we also please Krishna. So then we not only freed from the debt to the demigods or sages or other living entities, but also we ourselves become purified from all anarthas. Because I'm talking to myself. So then we also get rid of all the sinful reactions that we have, so which are going to come if we don't burn them. So that's a great advantage or the power of this process of Krishna consciousness. And then in the slokas 14 and 15, we see the dynasty that is continuing from Priyavrata. Of course, we had up to Gaya, Maharaj Gaya, and from Maharaj Gaya we see that we got three sons. He got three sons from the womb of his wife Gayanti. So their names are also given, Chitrarata, Sugati, and Avarodhana. So we could see that this is a history. So as Adya Mataji mentioned, it's not some stories or mythology like that. So we see the dynasty, how it started. So similarly, we see that now the dynasty is continuing. So from Samrat, from his wife Urna, Chitrarata got, and then his name is Utkala, and in her womb Samrat we got a son named Marichi. So like that, So there are great personalities and powerful kings and very exalted personalities. They all appeared in the dynasty of Priyavrata. So of course, uh, in the last week we see that Tasta begot a son named Viraja. So in the next sloka we hear this King Viraja also is a great personality, and from his wife, Viraja's wife Visuchi, so he got 100 sons and one daughter, and of all these sons, Satyajit is a very predominant. And we hear in the next sloka this King Viraja, because of his great qualities and wide fame, King Viraja became the jewel of the dynasty of King Priyavrata. So here is a comparison is given how Lord Vishnu, by his transcendental potency, decorates and blesses the demigods. So similarly, King Viraja, because of his great qualities and wonderful ruling, he got great name and fame. So because of that, he became the jewel of the dynasty of King Priyavrata. And Prabhupada gives analogy saying that when within a garden there is a flowering tree, it attains a good reputation because of the fragrant flowers. So it gives very nice smell. Then everybody appreciates that. So similarly, if there is a famous man in the family, so he is compared to the fragrant flower in the forest. And because of him, so the entire family becomes very famous in the history. So like how when Krishna took birth in the Edu dynasty, the whole Edu dynasty remained famous for all time. So similar like when Lord Ramchandra appeared in the dynasty of the Raghu Vamsha, Sun dynasty, and whole dynasty became very famous, and it continued. That famous is still continuing. So similarly, King Viraja's appearance, the family of Maharaj Priyavata, so it remained famous for all time. So like that. So so these are the great descendants of King Priyavrata. So this last sloka for today. So I'll pause it here. Thank you all. Thank you very much for joining today's session. Grandhara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Brahma ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for wonderful plan. Hare Krishna to all devotees for joining. वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च यस्य कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमः।
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, thank you.